Over 520 players participated in the inaugural Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, and 30 of those players have earned a place on Minor League Cricket's 3 teams of the tournament. Joining me to discuss these teams of the tournament is Nikhil Uttamchandani. Nikhil, thank you for joining me today.
Nate, thank you so much for having me. Thanks to, of course, all the hard work that you've put in over the minor league. Massive success, and really excited to break down what I thought is very interesting. I won't give anything away. A very interesting 3 teams, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
Yeah, it's been an amazing season, to be honest, and it all came together in finals weekend. It was great meeting you there in person. Great meeting so many people I got to meet. It was amazing, and I'm looking forward to that every single year. You've been following the tournament very closely, either while on comms in the Pacific or via the streams. Let's talk about this teams of the tournament. They chose 12 players for the team, which I think is great. And personally, I don't think of it as 11 players and a 12th man, but more like, here's 12 players, you choose your 11.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a very tough team to pick. You mentioned how many, I think 500 plus players would have been involved. So to pick 12 and narrow it down to the 12 best performers is very tough to the panel that would have selected it. I think it's a pretty reasonable team picked. You know, like, obviously you can make a case. You can always make a case for some that have been left out. But nonetheless, I think it was a massive success. And the fact that they've even created something like this, Nate, I just think it's great for the interest of the minor league, because it will get people talking. And it's good for the players as well to get the recognition after a long, hard-fought season.
I kind of feel like I would have done a Team Atlantic and Team Pacific. I know, Nikhil, that you think that's the coward's way out. And the traditional thing to do is to choose one team of the tournament. So let's focus on this one team, and let's start with the Batsmen. Uttamchandani, who played the innings of the tournament, in my opinion. He was the leader of the tournament in runs at the end with 594. After him, Ryan Scott, Trayvon Griffith, Xavier Marshall, and Sujith Gowda. So what are your thoughts on this group right here, these batsmen?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty fair first 5, Nate, if you could say, because you look at all 5 of these in the top order. Uttamchandani, as you mentioned rightfully, top run scorer in the tournament, lit it on fire with that 105 half centuries as well. He was outstanding. Trayvon Griffith, someone that I watched for a lot of years, coming from Guyana now to the US. And for what he was able to achieve for the Empire State Titans, I thought it was magnificent. You look down the list, Xavier Marshall. I found it so interesting, Nate. I know you would know better than me, but to see when that USA team was selected for Oman, Xavier Marshall, of course, was left out of that squad selected, and he just sort of turned the switch on. He got runs under his belt. It just seemed like he was in a completely different mindset. I think the weekend after was when Xavier actually got that 100. So really was interesting to see how he sort of, went on in the tournament. But all in all, Sujith Gowda, I'm a massive fan of in terms of just his technical ability and his potential. I think is a pretty fair top 5. Some questions asked about Ryan Scott, but he did get 200. So let's remember that.
Yeah, and he did so at a very high strike rate as well, which you want to take advantage of that power play. At least his team did, and they've got a lot of talent in the depth of that team. So anytime he can set them off to a great start, that's just good news for them. So he did his job there. I agree with Trayvon Griffith. A lot of people thought he might have even should have won MVP of the tournament with his all-around effort. He was good in all 3 facets of the game. He's regularly a very good player. So like you said, Xavier Marshall, that 100 he scored, that sticks out in my mind, all the horns honking there. And like you said, Xavier did quite well and was left out of the ODI team. So let's see if he slots into the T20 team after having such an amazing tournament. Now on to the all-rounders. Hamid Azam, he was the top-rated player in terms of total impact. That's a stat that I'm going to talk a lot more about in the future. It's caused a little bit of controversy, a little bit of confusion. It's kind of an advanced stat. A lot of people are calling it like a baseball thing. Long story short, what it does, it compares the players against each other, and it adjusts for the grounds that they play on, which is always an important thing. But in this league, it's extremely important. When you have a lot of turf, you have a lot of different turf, you have a lot of astro, you have matting. It's important to kind of even out those numbers and see how did this player do compared to the average player who played on the same in the same situations. So that's essentially what it does. I plan on having Tom Nielsen on, interviewing him soon to actually get into the guts of the stat. But yeah, it has caused some controversy. But Hamad Azam, the top-rated player in terms of total impact, is a strike rate over 184, and that was on some very difficult wickets in California. He averaged over 50, and he took 12 wickets. Christopher Barnwell, 500-plus runs scored, second in total impact overall. Shadley Van Schalwick, he ranked 9th in total impact. Now, he didn't have big accumulative numbers, but compared to the average bowler in those situations, he saved his team lots of runs. And on the eye test, he looked very good to me. What do you think about these all-rounders?
I think, Nate, obviously, everybody in this team selected has done very well in this tournament. We're basically having a conversation about the best of the best. But I think the first two that you mentioned, Hamad Azam and Christopher Barnwell, when you look at the magnitude of performances that they had for their teams and sort of the weight that I held for their team's performances, one thing personally I like to look at is the overall success of the team. And when I look at how far these teams reached, of course, getting to the conference finals for both of these teams, the Grizzlies and the Titans, Christopher Barnwell, as well as Azam, had massive roles to play for their respective sides. So for me, I think that sort of merited their places. I may have a tweak with his Van Schalwick, even though I understand, his economy rate, one of the best in the tournament, that 4.83, I believe it is. He's got the 20 wickets as well as some runs, pitching in 259 runs. I just look at someone like Zia Shazad, and when I look at his stats, 25 wickets in 17 games. But what really stands out to me, Nate, is that economy rate, 6.46 with an average of 16.32. Remember, he's a leg spinner. So you just see the amount of difficulty in control and especially keeping your economy rate to be under 7. He bowled at some critical times, even at the death in some games for the Grizzlies. Then with the bat, 381 runs in the 17 innings. Yeah, at a strike rate of 116.51, averaging over 25. So for me, I really enjoyed watching Zia Shazad this season. I watched a lot of their games, and the contributions he made were so pivotal because of the way he was batting, coming in at 3 at some games, kick-starting the innings when Sami Aslam was rotating the strike. So I thought he was very important. Nonetheless, give it to Van Schalwick because he was, really one of the lone performers, lone standouts for his team. But I was really impressed with Zia Shazad. What about you?
Oh, I agree with you about Shazad. He was fantastic. You saw him up close more than I did. Like every team needs a leg spinner too. But yeah, like you said, someone with that versatility and that quality to play in so many situations. That's a little bit of a snub, but Van Schalwick was excellent. Hats off to him. Like you said, he didn't have tons of support. So what he did was, he stood on his own a lot. Good for him. I'm happy to see him included. It's a really tough decision, especially we really have basically 3 all-rounders in this group. 4 if you count Trayvon Griffith up at the top of the batting order. Another one of those really tough decisions. Moving on to the bowlers, Cornet Dry, 5th in total impact. He led the Fire to first place in the South. He was excellent. He really passed the eye test. He was a dominant bowler in my view. I saw him up close. Just when he was in, everybody was watching. Next up, Vatsal Vaghela, the only player to feature on all 3 teams of the tournament. 4 other players featured on 2 teams, but Vatsal, obviously because of his age, he qualified for the under 21 team. Very good bowler, number 1 in total impact amongst bowlers. That is amazing for a guy his age, a teenager. This makes me feel really good about the future of cricket in the United States, about the future of the USA cricket team. Following him would be Damian Jacobs. You were talking about leg spinners before. He was the leading wicket taker, and he was something else. I got to see him up close a few times, and his arm speed is so quick. I don't know how anybody picks him because he just comes through so fast. Willem Luddick rounds it all out. What are your thoughts on this bowler group?
Well, I think may be the toughest group to pick from in the tournament. I'll start with Cornet Dry, Nate. Every team, if you're looking at the construct solely, every team needs that genuine fast bowler. And I think that's what you get from Cornet Dry, that ruthless, aggressive option. He was brilliant. He continues to have a great year in the overall view of USA cricket, playing in the different tournaments and then following it up in the minor league as captain as well in some games. So I thought he was brilliant. I actually got to watch a lot of their games. Vaghela, outstanding. really got to see him, during the commentary of the minor league finals weekend. And I just think for him to have this sort of ability at under 21 level, you mentioned being the only person in all three teams. I think the USA cricket will really have their eyes on him as sort of that young talent, because even in the semi-final games against the Houston Hurricanes, he was a big part in that second game. I think he got 3 wickets and took the final catch as well, as to how they were able to get over the line. And then Damian Jacobs, I was very impressed with. Also someone I know playing for Jamaica, but no real surprise to me because he's got over 200 first-class wickets. So I always knew, he's done well at a high level for many years. His variance in speed, you mentioned the arm speed, that makes it tough to pick. But when it does come out the hand, just his ability to change pace and change length as well. Such good control as a leg spinner. Something I was mentioning with Zia Shazad. So definitely was a revelation. Some names that I felt may have been left out. You look at the captain of the USA men's team, Saurabh Netravalkar, 18 wickets in 14 matches, economy rate of 5.32. He's someone that, of course, playing for the winning strikers team, that is another factor, the fact that they were able to win the competition. But remember, he did leave halfway in the tournament to go to Oman. So that could have been another factor. And also leaving for that tour, Jasdeep Singh, who got 18 wickets, but in 12 matches, Nate, 5.39 economy and an average of 12.78. So really tough to pick from these guys, but you never know. 4 or 5 more games for both Netravalkar and Singh. They could have been definitely up there with the leading wicket takers in the tournament and could have had a place in this team. So all in all, rounding up with Willem Luddick as the 12th, I think he was outstanding with the bat for the Houston Hurricanes. Half century after half century for them in crucial matches to help them come second in that group. But it was a tough group to come out of, and they were able to do so. But I was really impressed with Luddick throughout the season. I think he, definitely justifies that selection. But Nate, all I will say is I'm happy that I'm not the one picking these teams because as you can see, they're not easy.
Yeah, me too. It had to be a very difficult decision to make. I agree with you about Saurabh. I felt like he should have been in the domestic team of the tournament. I really do. He's a great leader. He's a fantastically economical bowler. He bowls in the tough times, and that's what makes his stats even more impressive to me. He bowls.
Just not to cut you, Nate, but I'm gonna put you in the hot seat, and I want, since we rely on you so much for information about the minor league, ladies and gentlemen, I would like Nate to select his team of the tournament, not Pacific and Atlantic. His team of the tournament, best 11 players in his opinion at a later date. Not doesn't necessarily have to be now. I want to give him some time to think about it. But just pin this and remember, because I'm putting him on the spot. He knows better than anyone else about this league and about these players. So Nate, I'm challenging you to give me your best team of the tournament and challenge the panel that was selected this.
This is a very painful challenge, I can tell you already. I look at this team and maybe I might put, it's tough to leave Jonathan Fu out. I think if his team makes the playoffs, he's in this team. 4 or 5, I think he might have had 5 man of the match awards, and all of those winning the game right at the end for Philadelphia. Fantastic performances from him. Jacobus Pinar, he was terrific. Amila Aponzo, excellent. And then of course we have Nicholas Curtin, was excellent all-rounder for Michigan Cricket Stars. I think a lot of it comes down to who made the playoffs. And then you have Jonas Sarkhan, who I think he also had about 4 or 5 man of the match awards for Austin. And Austin finished with I believe the best record in the league, when you consider net run rate at the end of it. But yeah, so, there's only 12 spots on that team. Of course, the domestic team, has 12 as well. And then you have the U21s. But very difficult. I guess I'll have to take up your challenge because, it's so public. But but it's not going to be easy, man.
Yeah, no, I'm happy, Nate. I'm looking forward to seeing your team. A lot of, as you mentioned, some big names miss out as well. Shehan Jayasuri as well, someone that was crossed that 500 run barrier. Sami Aslam, all these guys put their hand up for their team. So you could argue anywhere that, they could be in, but it's a tough team to pick, and credit to minor league for doing the initiative on a whole.
If I had to pick 11 players that are most fun to watch, I think Jayasuriya would be in that group. He's just he's so adventurous. He's really, really a fun batsman to watch. You know, of course, Trayvon Griffith would be there too. Marty Kane made the domestic team. Man, it's so hard to be satisfied by a team in the tournament when you have 520 players out there. It's just really tough to be satisfied. But I think this pretty much hits the nail on the head for the most part. You know, it's tough to argue with any of these guys, really.
I'm glad also that there are two other teams in the domestic and the under 21, which I know we'll spend some time on, that were also able to give some of the other players a way in, sort of to be recognized, because 512 to pick 11 or 12 from that leaves you 500 other players. So we need to recognize them because there were a lot that had, you know, some magnificent performances.
One thing we can hope for, all of us who are USA cricket fans, is that this informs the selectors and that they're able to, you know, put together a good T20 team heading into the World Cup qualifiers, and that they're able to use this data to help do that. So we look forward to seeing that. And, you know, it would be really cool, in my opinion, in the future to have maybe an all-star game where you take each division, make an all-star team, and you have a 4-team tournament at the end of the season, or maybe in the middle of the season, or something like that. That would be really fun to watch. And I think it might even prep the players for the T20 USA team.
Or Nate, I would love to see even like a warm-up game. The best team, maybe the team of the tournament from the minor league up against the USA men's national team.
Would love to see that. Absolutely. In associate cricket, anytime you play, it's always important. It always matters. There's very, very seldom are there any exhibition games. Now, we did just see two, the Oman tour against Papua New Guinea. But yeah, it would be excellent to see that. It would help the team warm up, and we can look forward. Maybe we can look forward to things like that in the future. Well, thanks for joining me, Nikhil. I look forward to next season. I look forward to following you and seeing where your next adventure is.
No, Nate, thank you so much, and thank you to Minor League as well for the opportunity. I just want to congratulate yourself as well as them.